Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to our channel, the place where gentle stories guide you into deep and peaceful sleep. Each night, sleep is not just a time for the body to rest, but also a gateway to fantastical worlds where your imagination can roam freely. A good story can soothe the soul, help you relax, and drift into sweet dreams. Today, we embark on a mysterious journey with the theme, unveiling the gate of paradise sealed beneath the pharaoh's tomb. Imagine standing before the ancient pyramids, where the sands of time conceal secrets about the legendary Garden of Eden. Could Eden truly be hidden beneath those colossal stone structures? Tonight's story will transport you to an ancient world where myth and reality intertwine. So, relax, close your eyes, and let my voice guide you. Wishing you a truly relaxing evening and an enjoyable story. For over 2 millennia, they searched in the wrong places. That was where humanity began, the sacred and mysterious Garden of Eden. But where was it? Not the Tigris Valley, nor the legendary land of Mesopotamia. Could Eden be hidden beneath the mighty stones of Egypt's pyramids, within the royal burial chambers, perhaps the very gateway to a world lost since the dawn of time? In the first chapter of Genesis, the Bible unveils the story of the Garden of Eden, a mythical land where the first couple, Adam and Eve, lived in perfect harmony with nature and the Creator. That place appeared as a lush paradise, with fertile soil nurturing abundant vegetation and enchanting fruit trees. The fragrance of flowers filled the air, while a crystal-clear river meandered gently through the garden, sustaining all life. This land transcended all climatic boundaries, existing eternally in a state of perpetual spring, untouched by frost or scorching heat. At the garden's heart stood a wondrous tree, surrounded by chirping birds, creating a joyful symphony for the first humans. Every moment was filled with peace, a place free from pain or turmoil. However, after an act of disobedience, Adam and Eve were banished from Eden. They were forced to seek a humbler land, far removed from perfection they once knew. Since that story was recorded, the quest to locate the true Garden of Eden has never ceased. The imagery of purity, divine harmony, and pristine beauty has driven humanity's relentless desire to pinpoint its origin. Scholars across generations have tirelessly searched, drawing on ancient texts, archaeological records, cartography, and various disciplines. One of the earliest theories was proposed by figures like Augustine of Hippo, Isidore of Seville, and Bede, who asserted that Eden once existed and might still lie in an undiscovered region, perhaps beyond the ocean, on an isolated island or a sacred mountain peak. Yet, this hypothesis faced a logical contradiction. If the first couple had not sinned and remained in Eden, humanity, descended from them, would have been confined to a limited space, rendering the rest of the earth purposeless. This conflicted with both Catholic and Protestant doctrines. Other scholars suggested that to resolve this paradox, Eden must have been as vast as a continent, while some boldly claimed that the entire earth was originally the Garden of Eden. However, if Eden encompassed the whole planet, where could Adam and Eve have gone after their expulsion? From this, new interpretations emerged, blending spiritual and geographical elements. Some propose that Eden lay near the equator, between the two tropics. This hypothesis gained traction among medieval scholars, based on linguistic analysis of Aramaic texts and ancient translations. According to them, the flaming sword placed by God to guard Eden's entrance was a metaphor for the tropical climate. Some even argued that harsh climates only appeared after humanity's fall, meaning the environment was once temperate but later transformed dramatically, as described in Genesis. By the late Middle Ages, three prominent regions were proposed: Mesopotamia, the Holy Land, and Armenia. Most theories relied on the second chapter of Genesis to pinpoint Eden's true location. A river flowed out of Eden to the east to water the garden, and from there divided into four branches. The first, called Pishon, flowed around the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold, aromatic resin, and onyx. The second river is Gin, flowing around the land of Cush. Next is the Tigris, flowing east of Assyria, and finally the Euphrates. Numerous debates arose among theologians regarding the identification of these four rivers directly tied to Eden, with the primary candidates being the Nile, Tigris, Euphrates, and Industry. The theory linking these four rivers to Eden was first proposed by Flavius Josephus and widely accepted by scholars. However, a significant obstacle lies in the fact that these waterways are separated by thousands of kilometers, each originating from distinct regions with no clear common source. The Nile flows from the Ethiopian highlands and Lake Victoria, while the Tigris and Euphrates originate in the Armenian highlands, and the Indus from the Himalayas. They lack a shared starting point, which challenges the traditional model of a single Eden nourishing all four directions. For such a source to exist, it would require exceptional elevation and an immense water volume. Moreover, while most theories hinge on these four rivers, other elements like the Tree of Life or the Eternal Spring remain difficult to explain. Amid this context, Dr. Konstantin Borisov is shaking up biblical geography with a study published in Archaeological Discovery. He asserts that the paradise where Adam and Eve once lived may have thrived on Egyptian soil. Among countless perspectives, Dr. Borisov does not rely on modern geography, but seeks truth in ancient knowledge, preserved in medieval European maps. These documents, often drawn in circular forms known as Mappa Mundi, reflect the worldview of that era. A notable feature in many maps is the ocean encircling the world, called Oceanus. In ancient texts, it is described with names like the River of the Sky, the Great Green Water, or the river enveloping the earth. Homer, the author of the epic poems Iliad and Odyssey, repeatedly affirmed in his poetry that the sun rises from Oceanus each morning and sets there at dusk. In terms of physical coordinates, ancient records indicate that this watercourse intersects with the Nile, specifically near Aswan in Egypt. There, it is referred to as the Celestial Nile, considered the origin of all humanity. Notably, maps like the Hereford Mappa Mundi at Hereford Cathedral in England often place the Garden of Eden at the world's highest point. These maps show the Mediterranean Sea, the Nile, and the Don River forming a T-shape, dividing the known world into three parts: Africa, Europe, and Asia. Our planet is entirely enclosed by the Oceanus. At the top of the map, an illustration depicts the Garden of Eden near the boundary. Here, the terms paradise or Eden mark the sacred land. Connected to the four rivers mentioned in the Bible, ancient and medieval historians, drawing on traditional texts, agree that Oceanus is the source of the four rivers directly tied to the Garden of Eden. Following this line of reasoning, when combined with an ancient Mappa Mundi by Hecataeus, dating to around 500 BCE, it becomes clear that the only four rivers branching from the encircling Oceanus are the Nile, Tigris, Euphrates, and Industry. A crucial point to emphasize is that Genesis 2 verse 10 explicitly states that only the river of Eden truly watered the garden. Thus, we have grounds to assert that Eden lies along the path of Oceanus, on a global scale. At this point, the rivers in the Bible have been identified. What remains is to trace the flow of Oceanus around the world to pinpoint Eden's exact coordinates. However, this task requires a comprehensive understanding of the mythical river's entire route. In other words, knowing that Oceanus passed through the Nile near Aswan is not enough. In 2011, numerous ancient archaeological sites were discovered along a 64 km wide belt encircling the Earth. Prominent locations along this route include the Giza Pyramids, Machu Picchu, the Nazca Lines, and the ancient Sumerian city. Notably, many structures along this path share similar construction techniques, such as polygonal stonework with high precision. Some scholars suggest this belt could be the mythical sky river Oceanus. This implies that ancient civilizations tended to build near areas deemed sacred and blessed with favorable conditions. Additionally, the Rig Veda of Hinduism mentions a sky river named Sarasvati, linked to northwest India, believed to be the cradle of Vedic civilization, bearing traits similar to Oceanus. Indian scholars even propose calling the Indus Sarasvati to evoke the connection between reality and myth. This similarity also supports the hypothesis that Oceanus may have flowed through South Asia. Even more intriguing, the concept of the sky river recalls the aurora, the mesmerizing light produced by interactions between Earth's magnetic field and solar winds. Among the ancient structures along this connected path, the Giza Pyramid stands out as particularly noteworthy. This architectural marvel has captivated archaeologists, historians, and tourists for centuries due to its precision and profound significance. Located on the Giza Plateau, it is the largest structure in the region, standing about 139 meters tall and over 230 meters wide, constructed from millions of massive stone blocks. Scholars often attribute it as the tomb of Pharaoh Khufu, who ruled Egypt around 2500 BCE. However, others argue that Khufu merely restored an earlier structure built by an unknown civilization. The primary reason for this skepticism is the pyramid's precision, which surpasses the technological capabilities of that era. For instance, it is perfectly aligned with global geographic coordinates. Additionally, its location is almost exactly at the Earth's continental center of gravity. Internally, the structure features a complex system of chambers, particularly two key areas, the King's Chamber and the supporting vaults above it. The pharaoh's resting place is built entirely from granite sourced from Aswan, located near the structure's core. This chamber consists of 100 tightly fitted stone blocks, with a fifth layer at the top using significantly longer beams. The chamber has two ventilation shafts running through the walls, one facing south and the other opening to the north. Above the King's Chamber, precisely arranged granite beams form spaces known as relieving chambers. Though long referred to as such, modern researchers largely agree that these chambers serve no such function. Both the King's Chamber and the relieving chambers are not directly connected to the pyramid's core, but are supported by the underlying structure. Archaeologist Flinders Petrie spent years studying this structure. His observations noted that the walls of the King's Chamber showed signs of bulging outward, a phenomenon some scholars attribute to repeated explosions. What about the presence of the Tree of Life? Many scholars view it as a key indicator of this mythical paradise. Researcher Simo Parpla compiled nearly 100 depictions of the Tree of Life from Syrian seals and artifacts, showing it's prevalent across ancient civilizations. It might depict two figures seated beside a tree, or, in Nakata pottery, a curved tree sprouting from a hilltop, Records from Canaan, Sumer, Palestine, and Egypt show the tree with a vertical trunk and symmetrical horizontal branches. Some carvings even depict light emanating from the top, creating a supernatural effect. Many cultures regard this tree as the axis mundi, a ladder to the heavens or the pillar of life. Its branches are described as spanning the world, with a lapis lazuli-like blue hue, growing on a sacred mountain where a holy river flows skyward. Notably, this imagery aligns with modern simulations based on the Great Pyramid of Giza's structure. In a hypothetical experiment simulating an explosion in the king's chamber to study how charged particles spread from the pyramid's apex, it's worth noting that the granite beams, rich in quartz with piezoelectric properties, play a critical role. When compressed by pressure waves, they generate an electric field, affecting the distribution and velocity of charged particles. The simulation results showed particles drawn to the apex, then dispersing in branching patterns from the central axis. This structure resembled a glowing tree, with branches extending in multiple directions. Upon interacting with the atmosphere, the charged particles collide with nitrogen and oxygen molecules, causing ionization. This process produces a purple and pale blue light visible from a distance. The resulting image vividly resembles an ancient tree or a luminous phenomenon. Remarkably, each branch in the simulation corresponds to a layer of beams above the king's chamber. Moreover, the branch's soft, curved shapes evoke human ribs. When compared to patterns in pottery from Petrie's Nakata excavations, the similarity is undeniable. This unique curvature could only form in a conical structure with electrically charged beams. Thus, the Great Pyramid is the only structure meeting all necessary conditions for this phenomenon. Many ancient civilizations, Egyptian, Mesopotamian, Indian, Chinese, and Greek, told stories of Sacred Mountain where the Tree of Life resided. Some 19th century studies concluded that this location was likely the Giza Pyramid, as no other site possessed the required technical attributes. Furthermore, depending on the observer's position, the way they perceived or interpreted the image varied. This uniqueness may explain why the Tree of Life appears with straight or curved branches across different ancient cultures. Over time, the sacred tree transformed into various symbols, such as Egypt's Djed pillar or the Jewish menorah. In the Middle Ages, there was a widespread belief that the Garden of Eden could be recreated, with the Tree of Life symbolized by the Christian cross. This idea is vividly depicted in the 1,500-year-old Hay-1 tapestry, housed in the Royal Collection Museum in Madrid. The artwork portrays Eden as a circle surrounded by an impassable coastline, with a cross placed atop a sacred mountain in the upper corner. Another key feature is the Tree of Life's close connection to water. Thus, Egyptian goddesses Hathor or Isis often appear standing on or embodying a sacred tree, pouring water. These images are found in reliefs and paintings in Pharaoh Thutmose's tomb. To further substantiate his argument, Dr. Borisov highlighted the connection between humanity's first two beings and Egypt's pyramids. Few know that the names Adam and Eve did not appear in the original Hebrew Bible. Only around 300 BCE, when the Greek translation emerged, were these names introduced. In the original text, Adama means clay and Kava implies life. According to Genesis, the first human was shaped from earth, granted eternal life, and lived in God's presence. Before that, the earth was barren, without rain or sprouting plants. Kava, the bearer of life, was created from Adam's rib, a miraculous birth from a new presence. This led many scholars to speculate that the man created may not represent a human, but rather a personified entity or structure crafted from minerals. Considering its enduring nature, robust form, and ability to persist for millennia, Borisov argues that the Giza Pyramid is the perfect candidate. In simulated imagery, the tree of life emanates from a pyramid's apex, with an unusual form featuring curved branches resembling human ribs. For many ancient cultures, this could be a visual link between the cosmos and biological structures. The notion of ribs generating life can certainly be attributed to Oceanus, the world-encircling river carrying rain to nurture life. In creation myths, Adama was granted the gift of eternity. If so, the enduring millennial-old Giza Pyramid may be the physical symbol of that miracle. However, when the Bible notes that Adama lived 935 years before fading, this might refer to the moment the structure ceased its original function. Beyond the River of Eden and the Tree of Life, one of the most striking features of the Garden of Eden is the concept of an eternal spring. It would be a land of evergreen trees, with a mild climate free from winter's chill or summer's scorching heat. According to the ancient climate theory proposed by philosopher Parmenides in the 5th century BCE, the Earth is divided into 5 major climate zones, 2 polar, 2 temperate, and 1 tropical at the equator. The distribution of these zones is directly influenced by Earth's orbit around the Sun and the wind deflection caused by the Coriolis effect. However, a bold hypothesis proposes a new climate model where Oceanus originates from Eden, flowing eastward around the planet, radically altering humidity and heat distribution. This river acts as a celestial artery, carrying water vapor along the equatorial belt, creating ideal conditions for continuous plant growth. The combination of steady rain and stable sunlight makes this region an area of eternal spring, as described in Genesis. The Giza Pyramid, located near the Earth's latitudinal center, lies within this climate zone. Thus, its location is not only symbolic, but also astonishingly aligned with the region shaped by Oceanus's influence. The Great Giza Pyramid is closely tied to Pharaoh Khufu of the 4th dynasty. Examining his name in hieroglyphs reveals a symbol of a placenta or sieve. Researchers consider this a phonetic symbol representing an open sound, similar to ka in ancient Egyptian. Its precise meaning remains a mystery. However, according to Dr. Borisov, this hieroglyph symbolizes the Earth, with a bar inside the circle delineating climate zones. Compared to the Sumerian symbol Ki, meaning Earth in ancient Mesopotamia, this hypothesis is well-founded. Thus, from this perspective, the Egyptian pyramids are not merely stone structures, but could be a sacred climate-regulating center, where time stands still in an eternal moment with the flow of Eden. Ultimately, whether the Garden of Eden truly lies in Egypt remains an unresolved question. Yet, this mysterious quest continues to ignite human imagination as it awakens a longing to return to the primordial moment when the mind was pure and the world was filled with peace. And so, we've explored the enigma of the Garden of Eden, where time seems to pause and dreams begin. I hope tonight's story has brought you a sense of tranquility, gently guiding your mind into deep sleep. Thank you for joining our channel, and don't forget to return for more captivating journeys in the nights to come. Rest well, dream beautiful dreams, and see you soon. Good night.